Good morning and welcome to the Dallas Download, your quick look at what's trending, what's happening, and what everyone's talking around DFW. I'm Kayla, and we've got a lot to get into today, so let's jump right in.
Luxury of a third-person perspective in relationships.
All that and more right here on the Dallas Download.
A lot of action franchises try to go bigger every time, but Jack Ryan Ghost War is also digging into trust, loyalty, and what service really costs. The new film continues the world's fans already know while standing on its own for people jumping in fresh. And joining us today is the legendary Wendell Pierce, who returns as James Greer. Wendell, it's great to have you on the show, my friend. How are you?
Oh, thank you. Thanks for having me.
All right, James Greer has always been one of the most grounded characters in this world. What do you enjoy most about stepping back into him for Ghost War?
The character of James Greer really reflects some of the people that I met doing the research of this character. You know, real CIA officers, retired, who have kind of given me their true north to form a more perfect union, and some of the debate that they have within the agency, and but understanding that the shared idealism of working on the mission, which is to form a more perfect union and protect that. You know, those are shared values. And so stepping back into the role, that's the thing that I'd love to portray. You know, as an actor, you're a student of human behavior. And what you want to do is create the world so strong that it induces that behavior. And that's the great thing about reliving a role like James Greer.
One thing John Krasinski mentioned is that the story works for both longtime fans and for people who've never watched the series. Was that something you felt like while you were making it too?
Oh, absolutely. You don't have to be familiar with the series at all. You can come to this fresh. You will see the history that we have as characters. You will see our relationship. You will see our expertise. And then also you have this story of what's happening now, this casual act that I ask a favor of Jack Ryan to do for me that actually ignites a global espionage chase. And so it is one of those things that people who have seen the series can come to and appreciate the next level of where we take the characters, and people who come to this fresh and new. But what we do over the course of a series, put into a 2-hour movie, is just heightened and it makes it a lot more intense.
And you said it's been heightened, it's more cinematic, a little bigger, but it also keeps the political and moral tensions that Tom Clancy's stories are known for. What kind of balance does this film strike between action and some of the character?
Well, you know, I think it's very important. I'm very proud of the fact that we keep the debate happening about the clarity of mission and clarity of what values are, and the political debate that happens around that, because that is happening within the world, what happens within the agency, and it makes you, as the viewer, look at it and decide what your values are. You know, I mean, that's the forum of what filmmaking should be about, the place where we collectively come together, reflect on who we are, decide where we want to go, decide what our values are, maybe bring that into our lives. And so I love that we have that debate, and at the same time have some of the best cinematic thrill sequences of action comparable to the French Connection and Marathon Man and all of that. You know, so I'm very proud of the cinematic and the debate that happens within the film.
And fans, they know you from so many incredible roles from over the years, but there's something about Greer that people really connect with. What do you think keeps audiences invested in this character and this franchise?
I try to make James Greer a everyman. You know, that people look at it and go, there but by the grace of God go I. You know, that they can see themselves in James Greer. He's a man of pragmatism. He's a family man. He's flawed as he tries and did not succeed in keeping his family together. But with all of that, he is principled. And he attempts to hang on to his principles and values. And people will see themselves in that, you know. Not someone who's perfect, but someone who's pragmatic and at least tries to live by some sort of moral code. And that's who we all are, and that's who we are when we dream of who we can become. So that's the thing that makes him prescient, and personal. And that's what I pride myself on when I try to portray him.
Yeah, thanks for being here today. Jack Ryan, Ghost War premieres May 20th on Prime Video. Wendell Pierce, I want to thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you.
Some mysteries stay hidden for decades, and sometimes even longer. A new season of Expedition Unknown follows explorer Josh Gates as he travels the world chasing lost civilizations, legendary treasures, and some of history's biggest unanswered questions. One of this season's most remarkable discoveries involves a long-lost World War II shipwreck connected to more than 1,000 missing Allied prisoners of war. Josh Gates joins us now. Welcome to the show, Josh. How are you?
I'm great. Thanks for having me.
All right, you've spent years investigating mysteries around the world, but this season opens with the discovery of Hofuku Maru. What was it like to be part of a search that carried so much historical and emotional weight?
This is an amazing experience. I'm really excited for folks to see the season premiere. This ship is what's known as a hell ship. It's a part of World War II that myself and I'm sure many people really didn't know much about. These were prison ships that were used by the Japanese to transport Allied POWs around the Pacific. And we work with this incredible organization. These guys you see there on the screen, they're part of a group called the Hell Ships Memorial Foundation. These guys have spent years digging through archives, looking for clues as to the location of this ship, the Hofuku Maru. And after 80 years of being lost, their research has led to it being found. So for us to be able to take our viewers there and get a firsthand look at a ship where 1,000 POWs went down is a really emotional thing and a really thrilling expedition that a lot of hard work went into for these guys. And so I'm thrilled to feature their hard work on the show.
And that story of Japanese hell ships isn't really something many people learn about in school. What surprised you most as you dug into this chapter of World War II history?
Well, the scale of it. I mean, there were about 135 of these hell ships that transported, over 100,000 POWs during the war. And many of these ships were sadly bombed by U.S. forces. The Japanese disguised these ships within their military convoys, and so they became unintentional targets for the Allies, making this kind of a doubly tragic story. But the fact of the matter is there are thousands of these POWs still out there that have not been found. And so this is an opportunity to really fulfill that promise of no man left behind, right? And to go and search for them. They've been waiting all this time. So really shocking numbers of people that are still out there, and that there are still big discoveries like this to be made from World War II. So really exciting stuff.
And your team helped locate a wreck that had been lost for more than 80 years. Can you walk us through how modern technology and old archival research came together to make that discovery possible?
Yeah, so the real crux of the discovery is the good old-fashioned sleuthing that was done by this researcher, John Dureski, who's part of the Memorial Hell Ships Foundation. This guy went digging not just in the American archives, but in the Japanese archives. And it was the Japanese archives that offered a clue as to where this ship sank. Many people thought that it sank about 30 miles away from where it was found. Using that research, sonar survey was done. A wreck was located on sonar. We then went out and dove down to really get eyes on this wreck and to begin photogrammetry, which is a photography scan of the wreck to really see it from all angles and to kind of bring it back to life in a way. So yes, it's this combination of good old-fashioned detective work and some high-tech tools.
And this season also takes viewers from underwater wrecks to ancient civilizations, hidden tunnels, and lost treasures. Was there one adventure that pushed you furthest outside of your comfort zone?
Oh, I mean, we go to Mexico in this season searching for the story behind one of Mexico's oldest civilizations, the Zoque. They went way out into the jungles in the Chiapas region of Mexico. This is a really wild part of the Mexican interior and huge caves, huge cliffs. So going underground in Chiapas into the world of the Zoque was hugely demanding, but also just about as exciting as you can imagine. Going out into these caves that nobody has explored to find artifacts that have been sitting down there, offerings that have been sitting in the dark for centuries.
And after all these years of exploring the unknown, what keeps you chasing the next mystery, and what can viewers expect from this new season?
I think it's the same thing that had me interested in this when I was watching The Goonies as a kid. These stories are just naturally incredibly engaging. What kid doesn't dream of finding pirate treasure, secret tunnels, lost civilizations? These stories just have such a natural hook and they're real. This is real history. And so I think for me, I'm like a kid in a candy store out there, you know? The opportunity to go and explore these stories it is the thrill of a lifetime. And to share that with our viewers is really what it's all about.
You're also going on a live tour from city to city across the country. What can we expect from your show?
Yeah, so an evening of legends and mysteries and adventure. If you're a fan of the show, it's an opportunity to dig a little deeper, go behind the scenes. And if you're just finding the show, but you love adventure, and who doesn't, it's a chance to listen to some awesome myths and legends and stories. And so folks can get tickets to that at joshgates.com. It may not be listed yet. Those shows will be coming very soon onto the website there. But it will be an awesome evening of adventure for the whole family. So if you have kids that are into adventure, or if you grew up as a fan of Raiders and Goonies and all that stuff, it's going to be a super fun evening.
Josh Gates, I want to thank you for joining me today. For more information on Expedition Unknown, episode schedules, and behind-the-scenes content, visit discovery.com. And for tickets to Josh Gates' live show, visit joshgates.com. Josh, I want to thank you for joining me today.
Hey, thank you so much. Good to see you again.
Have you ever taken a dream opportunity only to realize something feels very wrong? That's the setup behind Strung, the new Peacock thriller from acclaimed filmmaker Malcolm D. Lee. The film follows a gifted violinist who becomes entangled in the world of a wealthy and mysterious family, where secrets seem to be hiding around pretty much every corner. Malcolm is the director behind favorites like the Best Man franchise and Girls Trip, and now he's taking audiences somewhere much darker. Malcolm, welcome.
Man, I love that intro. That was awesome. Thank you so much. Thank you for having me. I appreciate you.
Thank you for that. Strung starts with a talented musician getting what seems like the opportunity of lifetime. What drew you to the story and the tension at the center of it?
When I read Alan McElroy's script, I could not put it down. It just was a page turner. I was talking to it out loud. It was speaking to me. I was speaking back to it, and I just said I gotta dip my toe into this genre of thrillers and this erotic psychological thriller.
You've built a career directing comedies, dramas, and ensemble films that audiences really connect with. What was exciting about stepping into the thriller genre with Strung?
I think audiences still want to see these kinds of movies, and I love the opportunity to do something different and outside of my comfort zone. And not necessarily outside of my comfort zone, but something different that I hadn't done before. And it was nice to not have to cut to the joke, and just be able to tell the story with a different pacing, a different tone. And I want to challenge myself in that regard, get the right cast and get the right crew behind me. And this crew that I've been working with has been a crew that I've been with before and collaborated on many, many things. But to work with this cast was amazing as well.
Chloe Bailey carries so much of the story as Layla. What made her the right choice for this role, and what did she bring to the character?
Chloe, I hadn't worked with before, but I knew about her, and I thought she would be a great asset for this role. And when I saw her, and when we got to talking and we got to know each other a little bit more and work together, I was amazed by what she was able to do, because Layla has to do so many things in this movie and play so many different colors, from being emotional to being vulnerable to being sexy and maternal. And all kinds of colors that she had to play, that I was just like, wow, she really, really brought a lot to the table. And I'm very, very proud of the work that she did in this movie. She's really, really talented.
One of the things that makes this film work is the atmosphere and sense of there's something not quite right. How did you approach building that suspense without giving too much away?
Yeah, the thing is, everybody in this movie, every character in this movie is hiding something. It's most, emblematic by the little girl that she's tutoring, Zuri, with her actual mask. But everyone in this movie is masking something, whether it's trauma or grief or something to that effect. And I wanted to make sure that everything on the surface looked presentable and comely and beautiful and opulent. And so it started with the house. And you see this inviting environment that is a little antiseptic, but just like, oh, it's lush and it's beautiful. But underneath all of that, you find that there's some dark things.
And looking at your career, The Best Man, Girls Trip, and now Strung, what continues to inspire you as a storyteller, and what kinds of stories are you most interested in telling next?
Yeah, I am incredibly blessed to have the opportunity to get paid for what I love to do, and I want to keep challenging myself and bringing entertainment to audiences. That's the main thing. I like to have to entertain people and make them feel good, make them feel emotions one way or another. And in this case, we're taking them on a thrill ride. And in the future, I hope to do, the same kinds of things, whether it's with a thriller, whether it's a comedy or a musical or a drama. I love, working with actors and bringing a vision to life for audiences to enjoy.
Malcolm, I want to thank you for joining me today. Strung is now streaming on Peacock. You can watch the film and learn more by visiting peacocktv.com. Malcolm D. Lee, thanks for joining me today.
Thanks, Dan.
Summer is a great time to catch on the shows and movies everyone's talking about, but whether you're at home or on the road, Netflix has packed a lineup this season, plus some features that can help travel and family movie nights even easier. So joining us today is Vanessa Lachey, host of Love is Blind, The Ultimatum, and to share what's coming to Netflix this summer. Welcome to the show, Vanessa. How are you, my friend?
Thank you for having me. I'm good. I'm good.
That's good to hear. I hear Netflix has a huge lineup this summer. What are some of the movies and shows that you think people should be adding to their watch list this year?
Ooh, well, I'm just excited to talk about all the fun things Netflix that people don't really know about. I get an in because I'm always here and I'm boots on the ground here at actual Netflix. But coming up, we have Enola Holmes 3. That's going to come out July 1st. For the sports fans, the MLB Home Run Derby is going to be live July 13th, which is always fun for people to watch live. The Ultimatum, as you mentioned, season 4, the show that my husband and I do, comes out July 15th, which is my wedding anniversary. What a gift. There's just something for everyone. Oh, Little House on the Prairie is going to be premiering on Netflix July 9th, and it's a beautiful reimagining of the original. But what's so great over the summer is all the features that Netflix has to offer that you just alluded to. They can download a movie or a show or the entire season. There's some really amazing remind me buttons because we all have a lot going on in our minds as it is, so we don't need to also think about when that show is going to drop that they're excited about. And the parental controls are bar none that really make it safe for our kids to be on the app and navigating the app because you have control as the parent. And what's really beautiful about Netflix Playground specifically for little kids is that there's no ads and there's no in-app purchases. So it's just a kid being a kid, playing games with characters they love that are on Netflix, like Peppa Pig or Sesame Street and Big Bird, Gabby's Dollhouse. So it's a really safe place for them to take a break, come in, or if you're traveling, you're sitting on a plane for 5 hours, you can know that they have a safe space to go to.
All right, let's get to that season 4 of Ultimatum. Can you tell us more about this season and what
Yes.
kind of makes it a fun summer watch?
Oh my goodness. Well, I think that The Ultimatum is always a fun watch period because every season is so different. And it's really a great way for people to watch these couples, how they navigate their relationships, how they navigate their trial marriages, and then when they get back to their original couple, and just kind of see what works and what doesn't work. Because I feel like so often we don't get the luxury of a third-person perspective in relationships. And when I watch it with Nick, we actually talk to each other. Like, did you see how they handled that fight? Or, oh my gosh, she was doing that. Would you do that? And you kind of clock what works and what doesn't work or what's crazy or what's not crazy. And it's a great way for relationships, I think, to get stronger. Or you kind of see the writing on the wall and you're like, man, this person is like this in the show and I need to run kind of thing. These are red flags that I'm not seeing, but he does the same thing or she does the same thing. So it's great that it takes real life into accountability.
All right, and you also mentioned something about travel and how Netflix can make it easier. Can you tell us about some of the Netflix features or hacks that can make that easier?
I was surprised when I was telling my friends how people aren't aware of downloading on the app. You don't have to have Wi-Fi all the time to be able to access Netflix. In fact, what we do in our household is before we have long trips when we're going coast to coast, flying or whatnot, is the kids sit down and they pick their favorite movie or shows and we download them prior. So I'm at home with my Wi-Fi, my strong Wi-Fi, we've got it on there. And then wherever you are, when you're traveling, it's accessible to you in your profile. So the kids will just click their profile and then whatever they've downloaded is there. And you can take it a step further and do the subtitles. So if you're, on a plane or if you're in the car and everyone's kind of got their thing going on, you can add reading to it and make it an interactive show, if you will. But again, the parental controls that I spoke about earlier, that's just a really big thing that I think is important for parents and for kids nowadays.
Vanessa, Lachey, I really want to thank you for joining me today to explore everything coming to Netflix this summer, including new series, movies, games, and family favorites. Visit Netflix.com or open the Netflix app to browse the latest releases and set reminders for upcoming premieres. Vanessa, thanks for joining me today.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Have you ever wondered what it would be like to bring out one of the most beloved family stories ever told to a new generation? Little House on the Prairie is now streaming on Netflix, introducing the Ingalls family to longtime fans and first-time viewers alike. Today, we're joined by Luke Bracey and Crosby Fitzgerald, who play Charles and Caroline Ingalls. Welcome to the show, you two. How are you?
Hi, good. How are you?
Very well. Thanks for having us.
I'm doing great. My mom was a huge fan of Little House on the Prairie, so I just grew up watching all of the old shows. And it has meant so much to generations of readers and viewers. What was your first reaction when you found out that you'd be playing Charles and Caroline Ingalls?
Oh, I sort of screamed and cried, I think. Yeah, it's daunting, but it was extremely exciting because I loved the scripts and I really trusted the creators of the show and was ready to sort of take on this new approach to the literature.
Yeah, I was thrilled to play this character of Charles because I just saw kind of a wonderful story and a good man. And I think the world needs nice stories about people trying to be good people and trying their best in a hard world and realizing that they need their family and they need their community. And, you know, that was the real thrill for me when it came to this job. It's a nice story about people trying their best and not always succeeding and not being perfect. I just thought that was a wonderful opportunity and a wonderful story to have the privilege of being a part of.
And this series honors the original stories while creating something fresh for today's audience. How did each of you guys approach making these iconic characters your own?
I think, you know, I wanted to honor what was in the books and kind of what we know of Caroline vaguely, but I also was really excited to sort of see her as a human who is flawed and complex and, you know, it has a lot of room to grow. And that's what I loved about the script, I think. And there was a lot in the script that I got to play with, I think, in learning about Caroline as a full person who's, you know, a wife and a mother is just two of the many things that she is. And I love how the script did that in these stories.
And one of the things people have always loved about Little House on the Prairie is that it celebrates family while never shying away from the realities of frontier life. What do you think audiences will connect with most in this new adaptation?
I think they might connect with the fact that life's always been difficult. You know, life's difficult now, and life was difficult then, and life's going to be difficult in the future. But if you've got good people around you and you're trying to be a good person, you've got good kind of core of people helping each other, be that family or community or friends or whatever it is, that's where you really succeed in life rather than just doing it yourself. No one really makes it by just doing it themselves. I think that might be something that people take from it. It takes a village to get far in life. It's really hard to just be a one-man band and try and break through the realities of the world, which are that there's things that are going to come and try and drag you down. And without other people around you, you won't get through them.
And whether someone grew up with the books or the original television series or experienced Little House on the Prairie for the very first time, what do you hope they take away from this version?
I think it's such a great, it takes a greater view of the prairie and of the frontier. I think that's what's really excited about our series. And I don't know, there is something timeless about looking at history through the eyes of a child, because we have children all the time that are experiencing life now, and it will one day be history. And I think it's really important to see, you know, history in sort of through the lens of a child in a sort of an aspirational way that we can all kind of learn from.
Yeah, there's hope there, right? Yeah. There's hope that even though life is tough, it can be you can make it through the tough times. I think that's what children always have. They can see that life might be hard, but they always see out the other side of it somehow.
They have to.
They have to.
Hey, I want to thank you too for joining me today. Little House on the Prairie is available now to stream on Netflix. Luke, Bracey, Crosby, Fitzgerald, I want to thank you two for joining me today.
Thank you very much for having us. Good to talk to you.
Have you ever had a muscle cramp stop you in the middle of a workout or even wake you up at night? Many people assume it's just dehydration, but there's actually more to it than that. Joining us is Keuppens, CEO of the Pickle Juice Company, to explain what causes muscle cramps and how they're helping people find fast relief. Welcome, Philip. How are you?
I'm doing well. How are you today?
Doing good. So a lot of people think muscle cramps are simply caused by dehydration. What's really happening in the body when a cramp starts?
Yeah, well, they're not entirely wrong, but they're not entirely right either. So dehydration could be one of about a dozen different trigger points that cause a neurological response that actually causes a cramp. So it's actually the response, your brain's response to that trigger that causes a cramp. And the reason pickle juice, the product, not to be confused with pickle brine in the jar, works so well is because we attack the cramp at its source, which is that neurological response rather than the physiological trigger. And that's why pickle juice is the only product in the world that stops a cramp in 60 seconds or less.
And pickle juice recently got a lot of attention during a World Cup match. Tell us about that and why elite athletes are using it.
Yeah, it did. We were, like everybody else, we were watching the game. And in the 93rd minute, the referee goes down with the muscle cramp. And sure enough, the assistant referee comes running onto the field with our pickle juice product, the stuff made right around the corner in Mesquite, and gives it to the ref. And we're like, oh my God, this is actually happening. 55 million people see this live. 100 million people have seen it since. So it's really, really cool. I mean, we've seen it in NFL games and MLB games, but never on a global stage like this. So it was a really amazing moment for us.
And how does pickle juice actually work and who can benefit from it?
Yeah, so it's a clean product. There's no artificial ingredients, no sugars or artificial flavors, colors, no caffeine or anything like that. So really anybody can take it, whether it's junior playing sandlot baseball or all the way up to and including elite athletes on the global stage, but also those of us who get nighttime leg cramps, because, you know, that's about 50% of society getting cramps one way or another. So anybody can use it. And it works because it blocks the nerve receptors that cause it rather than focusing on the triggers. So again, the most important thing to know is that pickle juice, it's not pickle brine. It works in 60 seconds or less, and that cramp won't come back for at least an hour.
And as you just mentioned, it's not pickle brine, but people may think it is. But what is the difference?
Yeah, so pickle brine is developed to be a preservative, right? But we stop at a familiar flavor profile. So when you drink pickle juice, you might get a familiar taste, like a little bit like pickles. That's not intentional. That was caused by the functional ingredient, which is this proprietary grain of acetic acid or vinegar that we use. And that interrupts the nerve receptors. That causes it to taste a little bit like pickles. So we call it pickle juice just to not be as intimidating, because this whole hyper-functional beverage thing is a really new concept to a lot of people. And now we spend more time educating people between the difference between pickle juice and pickle brine. So I guess we're a little bit of a victim of our own success, but, you know, sort of like Sharpie and Kleenex and other products that have come to represent a larger category, I suppose.
And my dear, where can people go for more information?
Yeah, you can go to picklepower.com or find us at social media at Pickle Juice, or just stop by in Mesquite. We're usually there Monday through Friday.
Philip, thanks so much for joining us this morning.
Thanks for having me.
And that's going to do it for this edition of the Dallas Download. Thanks for hanging out with us. Be sure to follow along for more stories, more trends, and even more from your own city. We'll see you next time on the show we like to call the Dallas Download.